Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone. I bid to the head of English Unit, Madam Nur Ain, today's speaker, Madam Harnianti, and everyone watching today. My name is Ainul Mabdiya binti Abdul Aziz. You can call me Ainul, and I will be the moderator for today's webinar. And so, welcome to Ace Your Muet webinar. Today, our focus is on the speaking paper. Without further ado, let me call upon the head of English unit, Madam Nur Ain, to give her welcoming speech. Welcome. Madam, can you open your speaker?
Sorry. Thank you, Aino. Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone. I am Puan Nur Ain, the head of English unit. First and foremost, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the English unit student activities committee for their hard work and effort in making this Muet speaking webinar possible. I would also like to thank everyone who's involved in this webinar, especially KMK alumni Tan and Lim. We've been blessed with an experienced speaker, Puan Harnianti Hamidun, who's willing to sacrifice her weekend break just to be here with us to share and impart some valuable tips and strategies in regarding Muet speaking. The objectives of this Muet webinar are number one, to expose students to the speaking test-taking strategies, and number two, to help students obtain or achieve a minimum of a band 4 in Muet. I sincerely hope that that you will take this opportunity, this priceless opportunity, to learn and obtain as much information and knowledge as possible from our own speaking guru. You must know that you cannot score high band in Muet despite being proficient in the language. Lo and behold, there are certain format and techniques that you must apply in order for you to answer the Muet questions correctly. I wish that the committee's due diligence will not go to waste and will bear fruits once the results are out. Without further ado, let's carry on with the webinar so that you can ace your Muet. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Nur Ain, for the wonderful welcoming speech. For your information, today we are going to have 2 slots. The first one is Muet speaking tips. I'm sure all of us are a little bit nervous about the Muet speaking test in October. Fret not. Today we're going to learn the test-taking strategies and listen to some sharing by 2 of our KMK ex-students who scored band 5+ in Muet. This will be in our second slot. And so, let me introduce the speaker for the first slot. She is our English lecturer, Madam Harnianti, who has been teaching Muet for 16 years. Before we begin, for the audience, if you have any questions, just type them down in the live chat. I'll read the questions and Madam Harnianti will answer them from time to time during her presentation. Without hesitation, please welcome Madam Harnianti.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you to Ms. Moderator Ainul Madia, and thank you to Madam Nur Ain for a lovely speech there. All right. So I would like to welcome everyone, the fellow lecturers, the students, and whoever watching this to our sharing session this morning about Muet speaking. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to share you my screen. Okay, can you see? Is it okay there?
The slide isn't on.
I have shared. Hold on. Okay, it's there. Okay, so basically this lovely morning, we are going to be talking some important information in regards to Muet speaking, things that you have to know before you actually sit for the test, right? And as the test is going to be this coming October, so hopefully this morning sharing session will benefit you guys, all right? So let's go through. All right, so I'm going to begin with the things that you have to actually have with you during Muet speaking exam this October. Okay, the examiners, they will be asking for these three items. Firstly, we have IC. It's a must for it's a must for the candidates to actually show the IC to the examiners, because that will actually verify that you are the right candidate. Okay, and next one would be the Muet slip. Okay, for Muet slip, you can download that from the MPM website. You can always go to the MPM website and download this once it's available. You can only download it after the registration has been made. So as far as I know, the PPSM will do the registration, and once they notify that, once they inform you that it's available, then you can download this Muet slip. Okay, the reason why you have to download this Muet slip is number one is for you to check when exactly your Muet speaking will be, because we have 6 days altogether for Muet speaking. And for Kedah Matriculation College students, we have quite a number of exam centers. Therefore, you have to know precisely where you are at. All right. And for your information, for each day there will be two slots, the 7:30 slot and also the 11 a.m. slot. So you have to check that information on your Muet slip, so that you won't be going to the wrong day, going at the wrong time, because it's crucial for you to be there on the right day and on the right time. Okay, so please download this Muet slip, and it's also going to be used not just for speaking, but for a writing paper later on as well. So once it's ready, you can always download that. Keep it safe. Do not don't let it be missing in action, right? And keep it with you, especially during the exam day, the speaking and also the writing, right? Okay, and the last one would be either a pen or a pencil, because the MPM, Majlis Peperiksaan Malaysia, they don't provide candidates with this stationery. So you have to bring your own pen or pencil, whichever that you are comfortable with, so that you can scribble, jot down your answers later. Okay, there is no need for you to bring anything else, because the MPM will provide one question paper and one writing paper for all candidates. Okay, all right. So, during the exam day, there are a few things that you have to know. Okay, number one, there will be two rooms for the students. Number one, we have the quarantine or the waiting room. Okay, during the pandemic, we call it as quarantine room because we will uh, we will have students waiting for them, waiting for their turn in that room. And if we, let's say we have students with symptoms, then they will be waiting in this quarantine room. But now we are at the endemic session, so endemic period. So I think it will be known as waiting room now. So the candidates will actually go there. Okay, let's say for example, your session is at 7:30. So you have to be at the waiting room by 7:30. Do not be late, because once you enter the waiting room, there will be one invigilator, pengawas calon, who will be waiting for you, and you have to actually sign your attendance to prove that you are there to attend your slot. Okay, so once you have signed your attendance, then the pengawas calon will actually group you into let's say depending on the number of students, the number of candidates who turn up on that particular day. Let's say in the morning 7:30, we will have normally 20 candidates. So it will be about 4 candidates in a group maximum. And we also have 3 sometimes, depending on the number of candidates registered. Okay, so the real grouping of the Muet speaking will be during the exam day itself, because sometimes the number of candidates who registered might not tally with the one who turned up. Okay, because we do have some students who quit the program, okay, in the middle of the semester, so that will somewhat affect the grouping a bit. But that's why you have to actually wait until the exam day for you to know who your group members are. Okay, and from the in the waiting room, the examiners will actually brief you, give a short briefing, so that you know what you are going to do, the do's and the don't, you know, the rules and regulation, and then they will tell you like you have to actually come, bring all your belongings when you enter the exam room, etc. Okay, so you just listen to the examiner. We have 2 examiners. So normally the head examiner will actually brief on what you have to do. So just listen to her or him, and then follow the instruction given. All right. Okay. So the second room is the exam room, whereby students will be from the waiting room. Students will be taken by the not taken lah. Sorry. Students, the candidates, you will move in group, okay, to the exam room, where you have to bring all your belongings, okay, because you are not allowed to return to the quarantine room. Once you leave the quarantine room, you will enter the exam room, and then once you are done with the exam, that's it, you will leave the exam area. Okay, so meaning that do not leave anything, and just listen to whatever instruction given by the examiners. Okay, so in the exam room, you will enter the exam room, and the examiners will ask you to actually hand in your IC, and then for verification, and then we will start right away with part 1 and part 2. Okay, so normally it will take about 30 to 40 minutes per group, depending on the flow, or the flow of the your
Excuse me,
discussion.
Madam Haryati.
Yeah.
There's a question
Mm-hmm.
asking how many students can sit at quarantine room?
We will have, okay, for the morning session 7:30, we will have normally maximum of 20 candidates, and at 11 we will have between 16 to 18. It depends on the number of candidates that we have in that particular exam center. Because in EKMK, because we have 1,000 over students, so we have quite a number of exam centers. Okay, that's why I asked you to actually check your Muet slip. So because on that slip you will see which exam center you are at and which session. So for morning session, maximum 20, and 11 a.m. normally we will have 16, but sometimes it can go up to 18. Okay, no, um, normally happens on the last day because we want to finish up all the candidate who registered. Okay, so I hope I answered that question.
Thank you, madam. You may continue.
Okay, so moving on to the next slide. All right. So in regards to format of Muet speaking, I believe you have been briefed by your respective lecturer in your class, and you have actually experienced, not I mean like hands-on experience, practical, doing web speaking in the class. But this morning, I will just share with you some general format of web speaking. Okay, so for part one, it's the one that we will start first in the exam. So it will be individual presentation, whereby the candidates are given 2 minutes to prepare, and then once the preparation time is over, candidates will take turn. We'll begin with candidate A first, followed by B, C, and then finally D. Okay, so each candidate is given 2 minutes to present his or her idea. For your information, students or candidates are allowed to write their response, their notes, jot down their notes only during preparation time. Okay, so after the preparation time is over, no more writing. You have to listen to the candidates presenting. Okay, so just if let's say the examiners will cue you. Okay, they will like your time is up. The 2 minutes is up. Okay, so we will then when the examiner says stop, then stop, put down your pen and listen. Okay, to the presentation. Same goes with part two. No more. Okay, after the preparation time is over, the 3 minutes preparation time is over, no one is allowed to write anything, especially when the discussion is going on. Because in group discussion, you are given 8 to 12 minutes to discuss. Let's say you have four members in a group, then the time given to you will be 8 to 12 minutes. So if there's only 3 in a group, then it will be around 6 to 10 minutes. Okay, so the length of your discussion will be depending on your group members, but normally we will have between 8 to 12 minutes. So as I said earlier, when you are in when the discussion is in session, you are doing the discussion, then no one is allowed to write anything. So my advice is for you to utilize the preparation time given to you to actually scribble, to actually jot down whatever notes that you have in your mind. Okay, because once the time is over, no one is allowed to write anything, because this is being highlighted by the MPM itself. Okay, so we have to follow the rules. Okay, and next we have this seating arrangement. Okay, in the exam room, we have 2 examiners. The Q here is the head examiner, and R here is the second examiner. So both examiners will actually assess you, right? So you you just present, okay, and listen to whatever, what do we call that, instructions from the examiners. Okay, so once you in the exam room, you will sit according to your index number, right? So the index number can be seen on your Muet slip. So let's say, for example, um, we have candidate A, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 for candidate A. That's the index number, and then so you have to sit accordingly, because the thing is, the seating arrangement is actually written in uh, the what do you call it, the score sheet. Okay, so and on the score sheet we only have your IC number. Okay, so you have to make sure that you are sitting at the right place, because otherwise you might be you know preparing and presented a wrong task. Okay, because for part one, the task for each candidate will be different. Okay, for task A, candidate A will have different point to talk about. Candidate B, candidate C, and candidate D also have the same, different point to be discussed, to be presented. So you have to be alert about this. And normally the examiners will actually check first. We will check they will check the IC of the candidates, and then they will read it out, and then they will check also the face on the IC, so that is the right candidate at the right seat, at the right city. Okay, right. So okay, moving on. Okay, so just now we briefed through the general format of the Muet speaking. So I'm going to focus with part one now, which is the individual presentation. Right.
Excuse me, thank
Yeah.
you. There's also another question.
All
For the
right.
individual speaking test, also we
Mm-hmm.
sit with other group or sit separately?
Come again with the question.
For the individual speaking test,
Uh huh.
we sit with our group or sit separately?
Separately means okay. The sitting arrangement. Yeah. Okay. So for during COVID, there will be a gap here between A, B, C, and D, but you will go with your group members together, and this is the old version of seating arrangement before the COVID, where the candidates and the examiner will sit quite close to each other, but there will be a little bit of distance between the candidates and the examiner. Okay, so but then it will be the same grouping that been assigned in the quarantine or waiting room. Okay, is that the question?
Thank you. I think that answers his question. You may continue with the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Right. For part one individual presentation, this is the beginning part of your exam, where you have to individually prepare your notes, your ideas, your points, and then once you are done with the preparation time, you will begin your presentation. Okay, so I think what matters is for you to know what are the criterion, what are the things that the examiners look at when they are assessing you. Okay, so for individual presentation, the examiners will be focusing on three aspects, three criterion. Okay, number one, task fulfillment. Secondly, discourse management, and lastly would be in terms of language. Okay, the moment the candidate present, the examiners will be number one. The first thing that the examiners will check will be whether the candidate is answering the question or not. So they are looking at the content presented by the candidate, whether it is relevant or not. Okay, so your what matters here is uh, the relevancy. Okay, how relevant the points given are to the situation given in the question. Okay, so that's why you have to actually make sure that whatever point that you give is what is it, in line, is relevant to the situation given to you. Okay, all for part one, they will give you the same situation. However, the points to support the elaboration will be different. So you have, during the preparation time, brainstorm the idea, come up with relevant points to support your discussion, sorry, your presentation, right? And the second part of your presentation that will be focused on will be in terms of elaboration. Okay, what matters in Muet speaking is your level of proficiency and sorry, to check pardon me. Okay, our right. So when it comes to presentation, individual presentation, um, the examiners will be looking at how much you elaborate your idea, in a sense that we are looking at quality instead of quantity. What I meant to say here is, regardless of how many points that you give, okay, for instance, you give 2 3 points in 2 minutes, but if you are just like you throw the idea, you explain a bit, 1 or 2 sentences, and then you are done. Okay, that is not a good elaboration. Okay, the quality is not there, meaning that you are only focusing on giving as many points as possible. Okay, you feel that the more I give, the more marks you will get. No, what matters is how thorough, how convincing your elaboration. Okay, so this is what I normally tell my students. Just prepare 2 points, because the given time, the preparation time given is just 2 minutes. And if you want to elaborate in details, okay, you want to have a convincing elaboration, then focus on the 2 points and elaborate. Okay, meaning that 1 point equals to 1 minute. So elaborate in details, then you will be able to get good marks. Okay, so that's the first part, the first criteria, task fulfillment. So um, the what do you call, the secret here is, number one, relevancy, how relevant the point given, and number two, how in depth the elaboration given. Okay, the elaboration, how far, the quality of the elaboration given. Right. Next, discourse management. All right, for discourse management, the examiners will be looking at two aspects. Firstly, fluency, and secondly, cohesive features. Right, fluency here is referring to how, I mean, like the flow of your presentation, whether you have lots of hesitations, whether you like you were like roping for words, and fluency is also referring to you are not having too much fillers. Okay, meaning when you are presenting, you won't be like me, where like at times I stop, like waiting, groping for words, thinking what to say next, right? So I avoid using too much fillers, like showing that you are thinking, right? You can always Google and find out more about fillers, because actually fillers is very normal in when you are speaking. But then if you hesitate a lot during the 2 minutes, then there won't be enough sample for the examiners to assess. So the hesitation, the fillers will affect the flow or the fluency of your presentation. That's why try to avoid fillers, and focus on presenting your idea so that you won't hesitate much, you won't pause a lot when you are presenting. Okay, normally this happen when you are nervous. Okay, so when you are nervous, the level of anxiety is so high that you sometimes become blank. You somewhat you are not sure what to say, what to share, right? So it's normal, but then try to minimize the feelers and also the hesitation. Okay, next part will be the cohesive features. Cohesive features is referring to linkers or conjunctions or things, words that you use to link sentences, right? So I would advise you to actually uh, Google for cohesive features online so that you can have a clearer picture on what examples of cohesive features, because it will not only helping you in speaking but also in writing paper, because it's part of the things that examiners will look at when they are marking your writing paper and also when they are listening to your presentation. Okay, because cohesive features is like will help with the flow, the coherence and cohesion of the presentation. So when you want to add ideas, okay, when you want to what do we call, combine sentences, right? So that will cohesive features is used there. And uh, however, bear in mind that not all sentences need cohesive features. Okay, so if you overuse cohesive features, it will be shown right during your presentation. So uh, you need that cohesive features, but then don't overuse. Okay, right.
Uh,
So
Hi,
next
Jinju.
part, yes.
There's another question from Praveen Manikam. He asked, if I use lack of vocabulary, does it affect my band?
Okay, I'm going to talk about vocabulary shortly, actually, because language is one part that one of the criterion being assessed. Okay, so vocabulary is there in language part. Okay, so I'm going to discuss and explain it now. So you hopefully I'll be answering your question. Okay, for language part, the examiners will be looking at, okay, number one, from the basic level, which is word. Okay, word choice. The range of vocabulary that you use will show your level of proficiency. Students who are proficient in the language will normally use wide range of vocabulary. So we have like low frequency words, high frequency words. So the tendency of good students, I mean, like those who are proficient in the language, in using, I would say, right, wide range of vocabulary is pretty much there. You can see the choice of words. Okay, so in awarding marks, the examiners will look at that criteria, the word choice, whether number one is appropriate. Okay, because sometimes um, language is all about, the beauty of language is that one word can carry many meanings, it depending on the context, right? Therefore, if, like, say, candidates misuse, okay, it used at the wrong place, wrong time, then the marks will be penalized. Okay, because um, students with proficiency, low level of proficiency, tend to make this mistake a lot. Okay, the choice of word is not proper, and they are normally using the high frequency words, whereby the everyday words that you use. Okay, so if you want good marks in terms of language, then widen your range of vocabulary. Use more low frequency words, and also avoid using like I am very hungry instead of the word very, right? Don't use that word. It shows that you use better words to express that I am very hungry, I am very very angry, hungry. Okay, so the choice of words, the vocab that you use will portray whether you are a low frequency user or high frequency. Those sorry, a student who are proficient or some students who are not that proficient in the language. Okay, and then after the word level, we go a bit further in terms of sentence, right? The sentence structure. Uh, uh, Candidates who scored low bands, I mean like band 3 and below. Okay, because we have band 1, band 2, band 3, band 4, band 5. Okay, let's say low bands 3.5, 3. Okay, these students, these candidates, they tend to give simple sentence. They use very simple sentences in their presentation. Say you will hear repetition of I love to do this, I feel like I need to do this, very simple sentences. But then the high frequency students with high proficiency level, they tend to use these cohesive features so that they can have a more complex sentence structure. Okay, so that will help you in gaining marks for language part. And okay, we have word level and then sentence level, and of course the grammar part, how you string sentence, the tenses, I mean like in terms of um, past tense, present tense, you have to be clear of that. Do not mix up, all right? Be consistent, and also like basic grammar rules like subject verb agreement, so you have to be alert on that. Okay, but if let's say you are quite weak in the grammar, my advice is to just go for it. Just speak up, because if you don't speak, there will be not enough sample for the examiners to assess you. So rather than like being quiet and feeling the anxiety to speak because of your lack of you are not good, you're not that good in term of grammar, then just go for it, just speak up. Okay, what matters is you speak, you present. Okay, then leave the assessment part to the examiners. So what important is for you to present. Okay, and the last part will be in terms of language will be the pronunciation. I would say when you are pronouncing words, when you are speaking when you are presenting your ideas, number one, your voice need to be clear, right? Your intonation, the stress, okay, it shouldn't be like very dull presentation, or maybe like you're just like you are reading. No, the stress, the intonation that you use will actually determine how portray how confident you are. If you are confident, you won't be like reading, it won't be monotonous, it will be like you know when to stress your word, you will know when to which part to focus on, right? And the typical pronunciation rules like silent B, silent T, words like plumber, that, right? So those words, be careful. Okay, make sure you pronounce them correctly. Okay. So any question in terms of
Yes,
the assessment criteria?
there's a question from Anna Farisa. She asked, what are some common mistakes done during the presentation besides the pauses and language usage while talking?
Come again with the question.
She asked, what are some common mistakes done during the presentation besides the pauses and language usage while talking?
Common mistakes done. Mm, okay. The most students, Right. For the new format of this Moet speaking, the questions are quite easy, and the vocabulary used in each question is, I would say, at level A2 for part one, which means it's rather comprehensible, meaning that you won't have problem in comprehending the task. And the task also is very simple, pretty much related to your life, because the questions is relatively about life as students, your life as students, your life as teenagers, your life as Malaysian. I mean, like you being a member of Malaysia, a citizen of Malaysia, your contribution, your role, and maybe someone's child. Okay, so uh, the question is very easy. I mean, like when you look at the question, it's very easy to comprehend, and then meaning that you can come up with the points. However, the one mistake that normally candidates do is they are only giving very general response, meaning that they don't give a specific example to support the task given to them. So meaning that they are just giving very, I would say, surface kind of what do we call this, touch and go kind of presentation. So when they are just giving very general point, not focusing on one specific example to justify, to verify that this is the right one. Okay, and the points given sometimes are not linked to what the situation given in the question. Okay, because the situation is not there for display only. You have to actually look at the situation given carefully, digest it. Okay, I mean, like I try to comprehend what you should highlight in the situation, because there will be keywords in the situation. So if you don't highlight the situation given there, let's say the question is asking you to talk about life at hostel. Okay, so you have to talk about the kind of things that you do at hostel, which which affect you in certain ways depending on the task given to you. Okay, so if you are not highlighting that, then your response, the students response, are very general. That's why most of them ended up with low bands. Normally, uh, candidates who give very general response like that without highlighting the situation, the keywords in the situation, will be getting, let's say, bantry. Okay, they can't go for, because the candidates are not actually highlighting the situation or the keywords in the situation. Okay, I think that is one of the common mistakes being done by the candidates normally, because they are too eager sometimes to present their ideas that they forgot mentioning the keywords in the question. All right, so each keyword will be different depending on the situation given. That is why, okay, it is crucial for you to mention the keywords in your presentation, because that will show that, okay, I know, I understand clearly what I have to present in the individual presentation. Okay.
There is also another question talking about mistakes too. Malini Shan asked, if we accidentally pronounce a word wrong and correct it afterwards, will it affect the marks?
Okay, if you manage to correct it, then it shows that you are aware of your mistake. So, being human, like, to err is human. So, when we are nervous, the tendency of you making mistakes is pretty much high. So, don't worry if you manage to correct it. What we call this as slip of tongue. So, not a problem. It's not going to affect your marks much, because the examiners, they listen to you, and normally the examiners will jot down notes, and so from there, normally they can assess you. They know, right? Because these examiners, they have years of experience, so you don't have to worry about their integrity, about their credibility, about their how good they are in assessing students. So normally these experienced examiners, they know if it's a slip of tongue. We know they will know that okay, it's unintentionally done. Okay, so if you manage to correct it, that's it shows that you are a proficient candidate. Okay, any other question?
Thank you, Madam.
That's
I
all.
think that will be the all of the questions so far.
Okay. So let's take a look at one sample question. Like this one, um, the question, the situation given for all candidates, all four candidates, is the same, which is technology helps us in many ways. What are some of the ways? So the word technology here is highlighted in the situation given. So each candidate, let's say candidate A, the task that you have to present will be how technology helps us shop online. Okay, so the keyword will be how technology helps us shop online. So candidate A will be focusing only on the benefit of technology in online shopping. Okay, candidate B talk about how the benefit, the advantage of technology uh, in making friends, right? So candidate C, how technology helps us do homework, and candidate D, how technology helps us find entertainment. So in this particular question, technology here is quite broad. Okay, so you have to actually specify it, right? In order for you to understand the question asked, right? Number one, read the situation given carefully. Like just now is asking about how technology helps us. Okay, so we have four different ideas there: shop online, make friends, do homework, and in terms of finding entertainment. So you have each candidate, let's say you are candidate A. So you have to actually read the situation given carefully and find out the keywords in your task, right? So you are to talk about how technology helps you shop online. Okay, so you are given one writing paper during the exam later. So scribble, write down the keywords on your paper so that it can be some sort of like a reminder for you that okay, these are the things that I have to highlight. Okay, these are the things that I have to mention in my discussion later on, my presentation, because you have whatever you do in part one, your point has to be linked to the keywords in the situation given. Without that, it won't be a good discussion because you can get drifted away. You can go a bit like very general information, and it will lead you into not actually answering what the question wants, because sometimes the question, it can be a bit tricky in a sense that okay, they want this to be highlighted, but some candidates forgot to highlight that particular part. So it was somewhat resulted into lower marks in terms of task fulfillment. Okay, so read the situation given carefully, highlight the keywords, and write them down on the writing paper. Okay, you use these keywords to come up with I would say at least 2 points. Okay, because for 2 minutes presentation, if you want to have an adequate and strong elaboration, um, more if you have more than 2 points, you won't have enough time. Okay, so 1 minute for 1 point. Give a proper explanation, a strong discussion presentation, so that you can convince the examiner that yes, this is the most relevant discussion. This is the most relevant ideas that I can share with you, right? And lastly, use cohesive devices, cohesive features while presenting, because that will help you in getting marks, right? In terms of the other true criterion assessed in the speaking part, speaking paper. Okay, so I'll give you one I'll explain how you can actually brainstorm the question. Okay, like we are using this how technology helps us show online. Okay, the word technology here is quite broad. Okay, so focus, right? So we have internet. Okay, so how internet help us to shop online. So you can talk about how it helps. Okay, the how here is it gives us the online the platform for online shopping. So focus on one idea, which is internet, because technology can be anything. It can be gadgets, it can be the machine invented, the innovations, all right? So focus on one aspect of technology that you want to present. Okay, let's say when we are talking about shopping, online shopping, then definitely the use of internet, because if without internet, you can't shop online. Okay, so focus on one aspect of technology, one example of technology, and explain how this internet, the part of technology, the internet that help you shop online. Okay, so give specific example and elaborate. Okay, so let's say when we are talking about on internet, so it actually provides us with a platform for online shopping. So you can name the online platforms that we have available. So we have Shopee, Lazada, Amazon, and a few more. So just mention one or two that you remember. Okay, so talk about it, explain, let's say focus on within 1 minute, because it's limited time, right? So do not explain all the examples that you have. So just focus on one example. Let's say Shopee. So talk about the benefit of it, how it helps the consumer, because you have to focus on how this technology helps, okay, consumers shop online. Okay, so focus on the how. Give example to support. Right. Okay, so once you have come up with the notes during the preparation time, then you have to actually present. Okay, so during the presentation, the examiners will be looking at how you string your sentence, how you present your ideas. So make sure that you have cohesive devices, okay, cohesive features, okay, these linkers. And then you have to make sure that there's a continuation in terms of flow of idea. Meaning that what you can do is, number one, introduce your idea first, okay? Mention your situation, but do not read. I mean, like, do not reread the whole situation given to you. Just mention, just pick, just highlight the keywords that need to be mentioned. So, like this one, technology has helped us to shop online. Okay, that's the keyword, right? What the situation is asking us to present. So, technology has helped us to shop online because right away mention your idea. Don't go with, start with introduction, explaining what technology is, because that will be a waste of time. Examiners, they will be looking for answers. Okay, answers of what being asked in the situation given. So if you're just giving what technology is, it's not really answering what the question wants, because they are asking us to talk about, to present how technology helps us. So mention the keywords right away and the point that you wanna highlight. Okay, so because it provides us with a platform to shop, right? So mention number one, introduce your idea, your situation, and then explain. Okay, a platform to shop. Okay, we are not just talking about any typical platform. Okay, so this is an internet kind of platform, an online platform. So this e-commerce platform offers various online shopping mobile applications to choose from. Okay, then you give example. For example, Shopee, Lazada, and Amazon that can be accessed. Okay, so you give two example, explain the function of this, uh, explain a bit, okay, the example that you are sharing with the group. Okay, so and then focus on how technology helps. Okay, so you can read it here. Shopee is a user friendly app which allows consumers to purchase goods from various local and international retailers. So explain further. This gives us more options whereby we can choose the best product by comparing prices and quality as compared to conventional shopping where you have to go to different shops to do so. Okay. In elaborating, in convincing the examiners that, okay, this is my point, right? This is really true. Okay, so you can use these a few strategies. Number one, compare and contrast. So you can compare like this one, comparing the online shopping with the traditional shopping, conventional shopping, whereby you can choose. In Shopee, there will be like options of, let's say you just type the keyword, right? You want to buy, say, handphone. No, no, sorry. Uh, what? You want to buy, what do we call that? Okay, face mask. Okay, so if you just type face mask, then there will be option. They will like you will see the results appear, whereby there will be more than 10 options to choose from. So you can compare and contrast. You can compare prices, quality. So talk about the benefit, how this technology can help you. So when you manage to go this far, meaning that you can further explain your idea, your point, then it shows that you truly understood the task given to you. So you will be able to get high marks, good bands in terms of task fulfillment. Okay, so uh, present the point, explain the point in details, yeah, and then using the example, link it to the situation. It's talking about how technology helps us. So the best, we can say that giving us options, we can choose, right? So let's say as compared to, like just now I said that you can compare and contrast. So you can compare between online shopping and conventional shopping. Another way is you can also talk about cause and effect. Let's say when people do this, the effect will be this. So that is also one way of explaining your idea or expanding your discussion, right? This is quite similar to essay writing. Okay, it's just that a shorter version of the explanation. Right. And finally,
There's a question
mhm.
related to this topic. Uh, it's what if our explanation is out of the topic?
Okay, if it's a bit off tangent when you are presenting, that the examiners will actually alert you. But the examiners are allowed to prompt only maximum of two, meaning that two times only maximum. Which means if let's say the examiner uh, alert you saying that candidate, you are supposed to talk about how technology helps us shop online. Okay, and the candidate is supposed to actually make amendments to the points or the his or her presentation. But bear in mind that the examiners are not going to pause the time. Okay, meaning the time will run as it is, the 2 minutes. So if you couldn't actually rectify, make amendments to the presentation, to your presentation, your idea, then that's it. Okay, but then fret not, you always have part two. Okay, because examiners are allowed to like kind of like alert the candidate that they are talking about wrong thing, but then we cannot actually give you what to say. Okay, so the examiners, they was like, okay, candidate, talk about this, focus on this. So they will let you know. But then if you keep on talking about that, then they will because in assessing the speaking part, we have three criterion. Okay, so if let's say your points a bit off, your marks in terms of task performance will be a bit low. But then if you have the language, okay, you use proper cohesive devices, the fluency is good, then you can still get good marks in terms of the second part, which is discourse management, and also in terms of language. So don't worry, if let's say, like accidentally happen, then if you couldn't amend that on that very very limited time, then try to just go on with the presentation and continue until the time is up. The examiners will alert you all the time. But as I said, only maximum of two prompts from the examiner. So if you are still, you couldn't fix it, then just go with it lah. Right? Okay. Any other question?
When we are in the exam room, are
Mm-hmm.
we allowed to look at our points we write in waiting room, or we need to memorize it?
In the waiting room, you will be just waiting. You won't know the question. So it's like a quarantine room in a sense that you will be there with your group members. But what you can do is maybe get to know each other so that it will help you in the group discussion later on. You can discuss, okay, who wants to go first, who wants to make conclusion, those stuff. But in the exam room, once you look at the question before you, then you will prepare. And once you are presenting, you can always refer to your notes that being prepared in the 2 minutes preparation time. But my advice is not to read from your notes, because when you do that, it shows that you are not confident. And in terms of intonation, you will be monotonous, you will be like reading from the text, so it's not going to give you good marks in terms of language and also the language part. Okay, so referring to the notes is allowed, but occasionally, meaning that every time you have to refer to something, because no memorization is needed. Okay, 2 minutes only. So, and I believe that when you are preparing, when you prepare your own notes, right? So you will be able to have it here, and it's normal for you to glance through, meaning that just occasionally, once in a while, refer to your notes. So not a problem. It's not prohibited, meaning that you can always refer to your notes. But then my advice is not to be reading from your notes, because it will affect your marks in terms of language part. The intonation will be very dull. You will be reading very monotonous.
There's also another question.
Mhm.
This is general. He asked, will the examiner give the marks according to CEFR?
Of course, because the assessment criteria and even the question set will is all catered to and in line with CEFR, because that's our guideline, the framework of everything. Okay, so the marks, the question, everything is in line, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, that's why I said the question itself for part one, it will be A2. So it's the level is very it's at something that comprehensible by everyone. So we won't have problems whereby students couldn't understand certain vocabulary mentioned in the situation, because in this new format, no one is allowed to ask anything during the preparation time. But because in the old format, students are allowed to do so, but no, not anymore. That is one of the reasons why the question is catered, is designed in a sense that it can cater to students with mixed level of proficiency. So even though you have, maybe you are not that good, you have low level of proficiency, so you can still comprehend the question asked in the paper. Okay.
Thank you, madam.
Mm-hmm. All right, so back to the slide. If you have the time, I would advise you to restate the point that you have mentioned in the beginning part, because the first part you introduce your idea and then you explain and then you give example, right? So to before you continue with the next idea, you can re-highlight, restate what you have discussed. You can use words like thus, hence, so, therefore, it is clear that this e-commerce platform helps us to be smarter consumers, as we can choose the best product at the best price. So you are rewrapping and some sort of alert the examiners that, okay, just now I presented about this. Okay, so it's like a proper framework, or for you to what do you call that, manage your presentation. Okay, so this is possible answers for part two. Not going to go one by one, because we have already, it's like more than 1 hour now. Right, so it's the same, what do you call that, template for second point, where you introduce your second idea, but use, let's say, my first point, my second point. That will be a good cue to the examiners, because you have to bear in mind that examiners, they have to listen to, let's say, 5 groups in the morning, and then another 4 groups at 11. So if the students, like, are not using this strategy, then the examiners might be like, budak ni cakap pasal apa tadi. Okay, so alert the examiner that, okay, this is my first point, this is my second point. Okay, and then it will be easier for you and also the examiner in tracking the points that you highlighted in the presentation. Okay, that's the role of cohesive devices. Alright, okay. So explain your idea, give example, and then if you have the time, conclude. Okay, but conclusion is not compulsory in part one and part two as well. So if you have the time, do it. Otherwise, leave it as it is. Okay, so I'm not going to read everything. You can see for yourself. All right, moving on to part two now. Okay, so for part two, group discussion is going to be longer than part one. And even for the preparation time, you have roughly 3 minutes, okay, to prepare. The reason is there are 5 prompts given in the question itself. So this means you can actually take all the 5 points, the 5 ideas, or you can focus on one or two. It's your choice. And in fact, you can bring in new ideas which is not there listed in the question. And for your information, if you manage to bring in new ideas and provide good elaboration to it, then you will be able to gain good marks in terms of topic development, because it shows that you truly understood the task given and you managed to bring in fresh and something which is not there in the situation given. So it shows your maturity and also your level of proficiency, meaning that you are good, right? Therefore, you are able to you are able to present, have good discussion. Okay. So this is a sample of part two. Uh, as you can see here, the question or the situation is quite similar to part one because it's still about technology, but it's focusing on another aspect, which is technology is an important tool in education today. So, in your group, discuss the benefits of using technology in education. Just now we have okay, for each candidate there will be different idea to discuss, but here they are focusing on the benefit of technology in education, only on education, and they have five prompts, that five ideas given there. So you are to discuss these five ideas, and at the end of the discussion, the 12 minutes, you are to come to a conclusion. But then, as I said, if like if you continue your discussion until the very last minute and suddenly the examiner says, candidates, your time is up, okay, then it's okay. You don't have to worry that, okay, we didn't come to a conclusion, so we will get low marks. No, it's not going to be that way. So what matters is the discussion. The discussion part will actually determine the marks that you will get. And for your information, even though it's done in group, but marks are given individually, meaning that the examiners will focus on each candidate that we have, right? And then they will award marks accordingly. So if you contribute a lot, you give good discussion, then your marks will differ from the other candidates. So just make sure that you engage in the discussion. Right. So the thing that you have to focus on in group discussion. For part two, there will be four criterion that examiners are looking at. Okay, and they are interrelated to each other actually. Okay, so there's a big difference between part one marks criterion for part one and also criterion for part two. For part one is like more on the level of proficiency of the students, but in part two we want to see how you interact with each other and how convincing your discussion is. Okay, so number one, you have to focus on the development of idea, because we have 5 points given, right? So if you choose one and you can develop the idea convincingly, meaning that thoroughly in details, and you can like, because this is discussion, meaning that you throw your idea. Let's say in to begin with part two, the examiners will actually ask the candidates to actually, okay, for group discussion, you are allowed to oppose, or what do you call, you can agree to whatever points given by each other, right? So the first person, let's say when the first person who initiate the discussion, what you can do is, let's say, you can start with, we are here to discuss um, the what's the sorry, we are here to discuss question, the benefits of using technology in education. Okay, so you just highlight the point that you want to discuss. I believe the main benefit of using technology in education is it is interesting. Okay, so you develop your idea, meaning that you explain your idea, and then once you are done explaining that very first idea, my suggestion is for you to ask everyone of their opinion, because The second part that will be assessed in topic development is how you relate to others' idea. So when you throw the idea and you open it for discussion, so you are actually giving a chance for everyone to relate to your idea and comment. Okay, because group discussion is about you discussing the idea, not you are waiting for your turn to, I mean, like, okay, candidate A present and then candidate B present. No, that is part one. Okay, for group discussion, you have to make sure that there is discussion. So there is interaction, engagement between all the four members, because we are looking at the interactive communication between the members in the group. Okay, so topic development and interactive communication, they work hand in hand, meaning that you have to actually you develop the idea and also you relate it to the, I mean, like, you allow others to join in your discussion, meaning that you can talk about the pros and cons, the cause and effect of the idea, and also you make comparison, you know, the pros, meaning that you compare and contrast. Okay, I believe in A, okay, and candidate B believe in B. The second point, meaning that if I were to start with interesting, meaning that online education is interesting. Okay, however, B believe in it's economical. Okay, so you don't have to actually go to school, you can always stay at home, you don't have to pay for the fuel, etc. Okay, so you compare and contrast these two ideas, which one works better, the pros and cons of each idea. Then there will be interactive communication between each member. Okay, meaning that you are not focusing only on your idea. If you do that, it will be part one all over. So not good. No discussion happening. Okay, so it will be very dull discussion whereby everyone is just like, okay, I only want to share my idea. That's it. And then I said, okay, when candidate B is presenting, say, I agree, then I disagree. No, don't do that. If you just stop there, it's going to affect your marks in terms of interactive communication. Okay, because you respond, but then the response is very limited. Okay, so it will be band 3 and below, whereby you attempted to, you are try your best. I know you are like you are afraid, you are afraid of making mistakes, you are not sure whether your ideas are relevant or not, but don't worry. Even if you just like, you listen to them, right? You listen to that particular candidate presenting, and then you look for the things that being highlighted there. Okay, so if you feel like, yeah, I do agree with what he or she said, then you justify, give very, like, you explain further your agreement or disagreement. Whether like, I agree with what you said just now. However, there are certain part which I kind of want to highlight here. Okay, sorry, you shouldn't be using wanna, gonna, because those not, because it has to be in a formal
Excuse me,
present.
madam.
Yeah.
Noor says, "Hi, madam. I want to ask if we accidentally speak bahasa, will the mistake affect our marks?"
Again, if it's like a slip of tongue, then it's okay. Yeah, the examiners are not that cruel, you know. We are human being, we are trying, the examiners, they would love to help the students as much as they could. However, everything depends on you. If you make mistakes, then stop yourself from committing the same mistake again, meaning that don't repeat the same mistake. It's common to have slip of tongue. It's okay, don't worry, right? It's not going to like satu salah terus potong satu markah, satu salah potong dua salah potong dua markah. No, it's not that. The examiners will look at everything in general based on the criterion that listed in each part. So if you make lots of mistake, I mean, like a major grammar mistakes. It's like it hamper the understanding, meaning that the examiner has to actually struggle trying to figure out what you are trying to present, then yes, it will affect your marks. However, if it's minor slip of tongue here and there, very, I would say, it's not actually interrupting or affecting the whole idea or presentation that you are presenting, then yes, it's not going to affect your marks. So just here and there is okay. Correct yourself if, let's say, the in term of pronunciation, in term of you meant to say present tense, suddenly you use past tense. Correct yourself. So if you manage to correct that, make amendments right away, then no problem. Even if you don't correct yourself, because sometimes when we are presenting, you can't recall what you have mentioned, what you mentioned earlier. Okay, so because we are, we are afraid, we are stressed, we are nervous. So don't worry, you can actually just continue with the discussion. Don't worry. Let the examiners worry about awarding you marks. And the examiners, both examiners, will actually discuss at the end of the, once you are done, they will discuss and give, they will discuss. And then once they come to a consensus on the marks given, and then they will award marks accordingly. So do not worry of making mistakes, just worry about presenting your ideas. What matters is speak up. Okay.
I slipped in this question because Madam was actually talking about the playing kinda, wanna, like those little
Yes.
mistakes. So that's why I asked this question.
Okay. So
Madam,
slip of tongue, just like me just now. Okay. So sometimes when you are so used to that kind of words, because speaking wise in informal situation is acceptable. It's okay for you to use contractions, for you to use slang, right? So it's okay, is acceptable. But in exam, we are expecting you to use formal words, formal sentences, formal presentation, academic presentation, right? So try to avoid using those slang words. Okay, but slip of tongue is okay. We will pardon, no
thank
problem.
you, Madam.
Okay. Anything else?
Madam,
Mm-hmm.
there's also another question. It says, Madam, is it for part one and part two according under the same theme?
The main theme will be the same in both part one and part two, but the focus will be different. Like just now, the first part will be were about the first part was basically about how technology helps us in general in different aspects of life. Okay, however, part two is more focused. Excuse me, they want you to actually focus on the topic or the issue that they want to highlight. Let's say this question that I shared with you just now in the previous slide about the benefit of using technology in education. So particularly on education, which means you have to focus on the education part, the benefit of let's say when you use technology in education in classroom, you can promote independent learning. It will be quick session, meaning that you can always click on the internet. It's economical. You learn new skills, and it will be interesting because there are so many platforms like what we are doing now. I can be at the comfort of my home and I can always share, meaning that it's interesting. You can always use different slides, different kind of method, learning strategies to make the learning session interesting, not dull, like you can attract students because we have students with mixed abilities. Sometimes they got bored easily. So with technology, you can make it merrier. You can come up with creative presentation, creative kind of lesson, which can engage student in the discussion and also attract their attention. Okay, so um, topic is the same, the theme is the same, but the focus would be in more details in part two. Okay, I hope I answered that question.
Thank you, madam.
All right. Anything else?
Nothing else. You can proceed.
All right. So the third and the fourth part that will be assessed in group discussion part two will be discourse management and language. So this is more or less similar to part one. I have explained it in details just now, whereby you have to make sure that your fluency, meaning that the flow of ideas and also the use of discourse markers, cohesive devices, right? And what the important thing that you have to bear in mind is that group discussion means discussion. So you need to interact with each other. The interaction can be in the form of asking questions and also giving comments, whether you agree, disagree, or partially agree. So it must not stop there. You have to actually explain, meaning that justify why you agree, why you disagree, or why you partially agree. Okay. So, and when you are presenting, when you are discussing, make sure that you use proper grammar, wide range of vocabulary, and you pronounce words correctly. Okay. Do not, when try to use proper intonation, clear pronunciation, your enunciation, those things, right? So with that, it will help you to gain to get good marks. Okay, so uh, do not just wait for your turn to speak. What discussion, interaction is crucial in group discussion. You interact, engage with each other. Okay, so we are at the almost at the end, towards the end of our sharing session here. Okay, so basically I'm going to wrap up what I have actually discussed with you for part two, because I couldn't actually give a sample for part two because it depends on the idea that you highlighted. Because if let's say candidates, you just focus on one or two, then your discussion will be quite short because you are focusing on, once you start focusing on only one or two, you will be like ended up repeating the same idea all over. So that's why during the discussion, you have to use the strategy of compare and contrast, cause and effect. You talk about the pros and cons. Then only you will be able to expand the discussion, and you can make everybody interact. Okay, let's say this candidate says it's interesting. Okay, but then you say, yes, it is interesting. However, when we are talking about online education, there's always a problem of internet connection. Okay, some students, they don't have the ability to afford good Wi-Fi, so they are depending on their phone, and the prepaid line, sorry, the prepaid phone, so internet connection. So with poor internet connection, then they won't be able to truly engage in the lesson. They might miss certain parts because they will be lagging, let's say buffering. They won't be able to see what the teacher has shared, those sort of things. So you compare and contrast, you talk about the pros and cons of each idea, then you can have a good discussion because you talk about both sides of the coins, meaning that you talk about pros, and then the other candidate, if you disagree, then you can talk about, yes, you are right, but then however. Okay, so make comparison, right? So when you use this strategy of cause and effect, compare and contrast, talk about the pros and the cons, then it helps you to engage and discuss the idea in details, and nobody will be left out, meaning that everyone can engage in the discussion. So what I want to re-highlight will be for the group discussion, the do's is to listen and respond. So because you are not allowed to write anything during part two, so listen carefully, listen attentively to the speakers, the other group members. So and yeah, when we are talking about listen, sometimes like the candidate will take long time to actually finish up their sentence. You'll be like, cepatlah, 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 aku nak cakap pula. No, it happens. So what you can do is, if let's say you feel that the candidate is taking too long, you can always interrupt. Okay, but the interruption has to be done politely. Okay, let's say for example, you can see that the candidate is groping for words. Okay, so you can say, excuse me, candidate, see, are you trying to say this? Okay, help out. That would be a good point. It will be like a credit for you as well, because it shows that you are trying to help others so that they can engage in the discussion. So and another thing is, we do have candidate who is like very confident. Those who are very good, they tend to present a lot of ideas at the same time. So that would be like taking a lot of time, and you are actually dominating the discussion. So that is not good. Okay, so what you do is present one idea at a meaning throw one idea first, and then ask for everyone to comment, to give response. Then, because you can't jot down notes, so if you give too many ideas, they won't be able to remember, they won't be able to actually respond to you. So throw one idea and then ask for a response from the ask for comment from the other candidates. So and then once you once they respond, whether they agree, disagree, and then justify, then you can continue from that, or the other candidate can join in and maybe add another idea to that if they agree. Okay, and also let's say it's not just interesting, but it's also very what's the point, very economical, because so then you can add up to that lah. So meaning that we compare, contrast, we talk about the pros and the cons, right? But remember to listen to the points given and respond. Okay, next time, next time,
Madam,
next, yeah.
uh, Anur asks, is eye contact necessary during the group discussion?
Yes, it is. You have to maintain eye contact with the candidates. Okay, candidates, listen to my word, candidates. Maintain eye contact with the candidates. Don't don't go and look at the examiners, okay? Because sometimes the examiners, when they are too engrossed listening to your discussion, they will have this some sort of facial expression, like like you are not going to like what you are saying. Okay, so avoid looking at the examiners and focus on your group members. Look at them when you are presenting, okay? Because when you are looking at them, it shows that you are confident. You know what you want to say. You have your stand. You know that, okay, these are the things that I'm going to share. All right. Okay. So eye contact is important. Anything
Thank
else?
you, too. So far, so good. Nothing, no questions.
Okay. So when you listen, you mention your agreement, disagreement, and do not stop there. Don't just say, I do agree. But I do agree with what you said. And then you straight away mention your idea. No, that is not discussion. That is you presenting your idea. So it will be part one all over, which is not good, which means you will be at low band. Okay, so to get good marks, you have to engage, meaning that you justify your agreement or disagreement. And to do that, you can compare and contrast ideas, and maintaining your the interaction by linking your idea to others. This is where you compare and contrast, right? Okay, the don'ts, right? I have mentioned this. Do not just say I agree, disagree, and then stop there. Okay, very minimal contribution is not good. Okay, you have to contribute as much as possible. The thing is, in group discussion, even though it seems like long, 12 minutes, however, if you like you know 12 minutes divide by 4, everyone do not really have like such a long time to present your ideas. So roughly 3 minutes, 3 minutes plus, because we do have some candidates who kept quiet. They just like listen attentively to the candidates, and when being prompted by the examiners, they will like, they will just say, I agree, I disagree, and then that's it. Okay, so do not keep quiet, because what we need, what examiners needs are sample. Okay, sample means you have to speak, you have to join the discussion, you have to justify your idea. Okay, so the points are already given. You have 5 prompts, so you can utilize all 5, or you can focus on comparing one or two. Okay, but if you just compare one or two, it's going to be like you will end in just 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes, and then you don't know what else to say, and then you will be ended up repeating the same idea. So bring in ideas. If you have 5, you can, if you have time, discuss all 5. Talk about the pros and cons, so that at the end of the discussion, the 12 minutes, you can come to a conclusion. But again, conclusion is not compulsory. If you write your discussion prolong until the last 12 minutes, the last second of the 12 minutes, then it's okay. Go ahead. Okay. Do not silently wait for your turn, meaning that this is not part 1 where you are waiting for your turn. Okay, I'm candidate A, so once I'm done, then candidate B will continue. No, you can always interrupt, but then make sure it's done politely. You can use words like excuse me candidate, pardon me, or you say, do you mind if I add something to that? Okay, so politely ask for permission to interrupt. But if, let's say, you can see that the candidate is struggling, okay, trying to deliver his or her points, then let he or she finish first. Because sometimes if you abruptly just interrupt that person, then you are going to affect her or his train of thought. So he or she will ended up with, they start to panic. Or they might just keep quiet like that. Okay, so if you feel that, okay, they speak too long, then you can interrupt. If you like they are groping for words, help out by giving words or by giving idea, right? Or you can ask questions if they are quiet, so that you are prompting them to engage and join the discussion. Okay, so the third part will be focusing only on your points. Don't do this, because it will be part 1 all over. And if you are being selfish and only focusing on your points, then there will be no discussion. Okay, and avoid dominating the discussion, because you are going to you are going to take others chance of speaking, so which is not good. So be as interactive as possible. Try to engage everyone in the discussion. Help out each other. No worries, because you don't know who your group members are, their level of proficiency. So there might be those who are not that good. You might have 1 or 2 who's good. So you can like make it like a win-win situation, whereby you help each other, so that when you are helping them, the examiners will see that your effort, and they will award you marks for your effort in making sure that the engagement, the discussion continue until the time is over. Okay, so I think that will be it from me. So any question?
There are no questions for now.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll
Because I'm
continue.
basically done.
Okay, all right. Thank you all for the questions, and thank you, Madam Harnianti, for the informative presentation. I hope everyone has taken notes, as these are very important for your upcoming WET. We will begin with our second slot.
Okay, I'll
For
start
our
sharing.
for our second slot, we have two of our KMKX students who scored band 5 plus in Muet in the previous session. We have with us here Tan Chin Chen, who goes by Tan, and Lim Yong Le, who goes by Lim. This slot, welcome.
Hello.
All right. This slot also allows students to ask any questions towards these two during their talk. As informed, today they'll be sharing their MUA experience and tips with all of us. Tan, would you like to start?
Hey. Hello. Hey, thank you to the moderator, Miss Aino, for giving me the opportunity to speak. And before I start, I would like to thank all the English unit of KMK for inviting me here today to share my experiences in preparing for movement with all of you juniors here, as I'm sure that soon you may take your movement examination. So without further ado, I will start my first experience when I was preparing for movement. And when I went to college last year in November, I realized that at the college, there is very limited opportunity for you to actually learn and start practicing your English language skills because people over there do not really speak English that often. I'm sure you understand. So normally you between your friends you might speak Malay, between other friends, maybe Chinese friends, you may speak Mandarin Chinese, you may speak Tamil or so on. And this I'm pretty sure is pretty common. And there will be a few of other students which may or may not speak English with their other English speaking friends. So all of this makes it really difficult to train or practice your English skills. And if you want to go into MUET, which is the English Proficiency Examination, if you have English Proficiency Examination, you need to be confident when you're using your English. So this means that one of my tips is to frequently and consistently use English in your daily life, which is relatively difficult in college. So one of the tips that I can give is that during my spare time when I was back in college, I would frequently browse articles like Google for recommended articles for me to read. And whatever articles that come up, it doesn't have to be news articles. It can be any others, for example, scientific articles, technological articles, maybe some articles about the environment, about society, maybe our local news, and even international news. If anything just piques my interest, I will just click on it and read through the text, read through the article. And this is pretty important, I feel, and not just for speaking, but also for writing in a way. Because as you read the article, you will gain new vocabulary, which will help you excel in your reading, especially in the tougher parts of it. And not only that, when you read through the article, you'll get notice each author's different styles and their style of writing, especially in relations to different kinds of articles. You will notice that for more scientific or academic slash scholarly articles, the writing is more sophisticated. It uses a bit more advanced vocabulary compared to those which are maybe more casual, such as maybe video game articles. So on all, through this, you can see all the different vocabularies and all the different styles the author uses, which you may adapt to your writing. And not only that, the more articles that you explore, the more articles that you read during your spare time, the more knowledge that you gain. And this kind of knowledge can be applied to your speaking and your writing as evidence of and proof of the facts that you give. So example, I believe that I believe that when you're writing or when you are speaking, for example, when you give points, let's say just now, uh, just now we have technology, right? So you can see the examples given there, or you can see the points given there, like maybe in terms of education, since during the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of people have started using technology, right? So this means that if you read all those articles, you can get some insight into how people are applying technology to their daily lives. And then you can apply examples. For example, you use Google Meet for your classes, maybe use other things like Microsoft Teams. And through that, you may find across some challenges that other people may have encountered or you yourself have encountered. So you can then apply them or you can talk about them when you're speaking or maybe when you're writing if you come across that same topic. And oh, and not only that, when I was back in college, and I've said this just now, learning English and trying to speak English is relatively difficult because not many people like to use the English language. So I was fortunate enough to also have a few friends back in college who I regularly spoke English to, and I feel that interaction between like speaking English casually with other friends, it has made me more confident when I'm trying to actually talk about stuff or when I'm actually going into the examination hall. Because otherwise, if you imagine yourself in the situation, you have not used English for a few months. And then when you're trying to go into the examination hall for the first time and you to start suddenly using English, you may find it really difficult or really demanding for especially someone who has never really used English much. So this experience at college allowed me to relatively freely share my ideas around, actually participate in discussions with my friends at college. And it's good. And it's good to have that opportunity to actually use the English language because it broadens your perspectives. It also broadens your vocabulary, it also broadens essentially everything. And yeah, this is essentially it for my first point. Following on to my second point, actually, my second point will be something that I did, my personal experience in preparing for Muet, because around 2 months or so before the actual Muet examination, uh, my friends and I, we started getting really worried. We started really getting worried about the Muet examination, especially speaking, because at that time, it seemed as if our group members really didn't really want to start preparing. I mean, it is 2 months before the examination, so usually people kind of leave it till later before they start practicing. Before they start, oh, pardon me. So we all got together, four of us, and then we formed a study group just for Muet. And you might think it's a bit weird that we actually form a study group just to do Muet. And yes, that's true. I specifically found another three of my classmates which also went to matriculation, but also my classmates back in secondary school. And we made a study group to specifically try and discuss speaking and writing. So what we would do is every single day we would text each other, asking each other if we were free on that day. And if we were free on that day, then we'd set a time. For example, maybe in the afternoon, maybe in the evening, maybe even at night. Maybe, for example, at from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. or 11 p.m., we would just practice Muet speaking and writing for the entire duration of the 2 or 3 hours. Um, and yeah, essentially, when we did speaking, we were going to go meet with all four of us, which is precisely enough for a single group for speaking. And we would go through the Muet book that we have bought. Lecturers asked us to bought. So happens every one of us bought the blue color one that we used. I'm sure that some of you may have the blue color Muet book. And we will go through the speaking exercises, the non-guided ones, because we wanted to actually express our own ideas, and all of our English abilities in the group are relatively good. So we would go through the non-guided speaking exercises, and they would essentially follow the format in Muet precisely. That is, when we start, we will time ourselves. We will say, okay, we have 2 minutes to prepare and then 2 minutes to present for each person. And then afterwards, we will give commentary and review each other's performance during the presentation. And then besides that, we also have rotating sort of candidacy, basically meaning that if I started as candidate A when I was in the first exercise, then when we go on to the second exercise after parts A and part B, or section 1, section 2, I would then become candidate B. Then this will keep rotating on to C, D, and finally back to A. And this gives all of us equal opportunity to really think about how we want to start presenting and the order we start presenting in and during actual examination. Yeah, and then moving on after that, we have writing. And writing is a bit weird because For writing, it's a bit more difficult to judge, especially if you don't really have a lecturer in the group, for example. So what we did in the end is I actually left comments and reviews on my friends' essays for both part one and part two, and I would give them commentary on their essays. And if we do it live during the meeting session, we would also do the same as Muet. But you know that since for writing, you don't really have a specific amount of time to spend, just a recommended amount of time they suggest for each section. So we would actually follow the recommended amount of time, we would time ourselves to that, and then try to finish an entire essay within that time limit. So it's similar to the format during WET. And afterwards, yeah, we would go through each of everyone's essays, and we would then review everyone's essays and give commentary, maybe on the grammar, maybe on the clarity, maybe on the brevity, and maybe on some other things like word choice, for example. And all in all, I think it proved really productive because when you work together as a team, for example, and you actually do it according to the format given in Muet, you won't feel quite as shocked when you enter the examination hall on that day. So, example, in speaking, right, when you enter the examination hall, you go into the quarantine room, you feel very nervous. Normally, okay. So normally you feel very nervous. You might feel very anxious because you don't know what's coming up. You don't know what question you're getting. You're not sure if you can answer it. But then when you actually enter into the examination room, when you start speaking, you feel a bit calmer because you have practiced this before. You might be a bit more confident that yeah, I can do it. So these two things are basically what I experienced and what I did when I was practicing for Muet back in the days. But then they're not really tied to Muet in a way, just the study group essentially. But the other things like speaking English in daily life, and also maybe reading news articles or any sort of articles online, they really apply to every single day life, and it really helps you in your it really helps you in experience in it, in broadening experiences in your daily life. And yeah, that's essentially all for me. So yeah, I will now give it back to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Tan. It's excellent how you could achieve the highest band score in your Muet. If it's not too late, congratulations. Continuing with the slot, I wouldn't forget our other alumni, Lim. Please welcome.
Thank you, moderator, Miss Ainu Madia. Hello, I'm Lim, and I was a former student at KMK, and I had just sat for Muet earlier this year. Now, before I begin, I would like to thank the lecturers in the English unit at KMK for inviting me to this webinar to share my experience and tips for sitting for Muet, more specifically for the speaking paper of Muet. Now, first of all, I would like to share my experience in sitting for Muet. And I would say that my experience was pretty run of the mill before the test, before the speaking test. I had practice sessions with my friends, and I was well equipped with advice from my Muet lecturers, from the several briefings that she had given us. But of course, despite being as well prepared as I could be, on the day of my speaking test, I was still nearly nervous. I have always been prone to being anxious. So I remember that I could barely eat that day, but evidently I still managed to pull through. On the day off, my group was later in the session, so we had to wait quite a long time for our turn to sit for the speaking test. But luckily I had brought some reading material and used that time to practice with my friends. And so now, moving on from my personal experience, I would like to share some tips that had helped me ace my Muet. Firstly, I would say that, especially for speaking, you have to get ready for it in every possible way. Because with speaking, your nerves will be your greatest enemy. So you really must get ready with everything beforehand. So you don't get flustered on the day of the test. You before the test, the night before, you should prepare your stationery, your reading materials, everything that is essential essentially, and pack it properly so that on the morning before you go, you do not have to rush, so that you feel more calm and you feel more confident. Depending on what number or which turn your group is, you might actually be one of the later groups in your session, and you might have to wait quite a long time. So I would really encourage you to use this time to read. So beforehand, you should bring some reading materials, depending on if it is allowed. If you can, bring some reading materials and use this time to read so that the info and the facts will be fresh in your mind, but also mostly just so that you can do something while you are waiting, so that you aren't both anxious and bored while you wait, which is really a recipe for disaster, because you will start to catastrophize. You will start to think of all the worst case scenarios of you messing up during the speaking session. So really either use this time to read or use this time to find your group mates and practice while in the waiting room. And another piece of advice I have is to honestly listen to your lecturer. They are very, very experienced. After all, they have seen batch after batch of students and delivered a batch after batch of successful students. Really listen to all their tips and advice. I am sure even the and advice that I can give you today, your lecturer has probably told you about them before. And I'm just here to maybe reiterate, or maybe you might find something new and fresh that might help you. Another thing that I would strongly encourage you to do is practice with your group mates before the exam. Find your group mates and get to know them, build rapport with them, and really try to get to know them, because honestly speaking test, you have the bonus of having friends there with you, not only as a support to make you feel more calm and confident, but also it's like you are going through this very nerve-wracking and very almost challenging part of this your test together. So you actually have each other's support. So if you can get to know your group mates better and build rapport with them during the speaking test, you will feel more comfortable to talk. You will honestly feel like it's genuinely more of just like having a more academic talk with your friends instead of a test. And of course, the most crucial tip is to read, is to watch, and it's to listen anything relating to English. Of course, it is best if you can read, watch, and listen to something that is more regarding more regarding with more recent topics that oftentimes, especially for Muet speaking, the topics that come out are actually very close to home. It will be maybe about college life, it will be about tertiary education, it will be about student welfare. These kind of topics, essentially the hot recent topics. So it is best if you read, listen, or watch things that have something to do regarding with more recent topics. But if not, you can still watch anything from TED Talks to national debates to national public speaking. Watch them. Watch how they not only dissect issues, how they watch how they maybe just from a small point they can elaborate on the just one small point, and most importantly, watch how they carry themselves, how they exude calm and how they exude confidence, and then try and emulate them. Now, during the test itself, after you have prepared everything that you possibly could before the test, during the test itself, eye contact is very important. I would, as it can, when you maintain good eye contact with everyone from everyone to the from the examiner to your teammates, uh, it shows that one, you are not frantic, you're not laser focused on your point, and you're not just staring down at your paper trying to make sure that you can remember whatever your point is. But by looking up and looking around, it shows that you are interested and that you are not at all frazzled, and this can earn you more points. And I know it can be nerve-wracking, especially to look at the examiner, to look at the person who is determining your score. But just imagine that maybe it's a friendly lecturer or a teacher you know well. And most of the time, the examiner is actually, they're professional. They will not grimace. They will not sneer at you if you struggle, if you stammer. It is okay. Just make sure you maintain eye contact. Essentially, act as though you are truly in a talk. You are talking to people. So of course, when you talk with people, you don't look at the wall. You have to look at the people you're talking to. Next, I would, for the speaking paper, I would strongly advise or writing down all your points, and not only all your points, elaboration along with it, and write it big and bold, because during the test, you will, by writing down all your points, if somehow in the middle of you forget, you can glance down and you can see whatever your elaboration was easily, and go on from there instead of freezing up and just stopping, which would, well, not be great. And of course, make sure that you have enough points and elaboration. Think of all, get ready with all of whatever you want to say and write it down quickly. Make sure that you have it all down. And if you're the first or second speaker, you might even, let's just say you have finished the individual task for part A, you can, if you have already seen the questions from part B, you can even start getting ready earlier. But also you still have to pay attention to your group mates. And also, of course, always remember that slow and steady wins the race. So when you are talking, do not rush. You might have the urge to rush, not only to show that you are very fluent, you are very sure. And if you can, go ahead. Definitely, if you have a lot of points, if you're very sure that you can keep at it, go ahead. Not too fast, of course. But if not, slow and steady wins the race. Enunciate your words and speak calmly and surely, but also know that it is okay to stammer. It is perfectly normal. We are all human after all. But just make sure you do not, by any means, freeze up and completely stop. Just stammer a little bit. Do not fret over it and just move on. And after that, after the individual task, when it is for the group task, remember to support each other and to prompt each other when struggling. If you notice that a group mate has stopped speaking for a while, do not let the room just go stone cold silence. You can pick up from where they left off, and this not only helps, it's not only helping your friend, it also shows that you're a good conversationalist, and not when it might get you more points. And of course, not only that, you can try and slip in vocab and proverbs, and even better if you can remember some quotes regarding your topic from famous people. You can slip it in, and that can show that you are very well liked, which can accrue more points. all in all, I would say that the key, especially to the speaking test, is being just calm and confidence, and also to put it in a more slang term, goreng. You have to elaborate on whatever points you have as well as you can, and be calm and confident. Even if you are a mess inside, do not show it. Just outwardly show that you are calm, you're confident, and most importantly, do your best. And I think my best tip is, as a person who myself is anxious, you will not do as badly as you think you will, but if you do not try, you will not do as well as you might hope to. So essentially, just do your best, and good luck to all my juniors. Thank you.
Wow, that is spectacularly. You have accomplished such a huge milestone. Thank you so much for sharing. And before I forget, congratulations to you too, Lynn.
Thank
We
you.
have come we have come to an end of our program. I would like to thank everyone, especially to Madam Norain, Madam Harnyanti, and to the outstanding students of KMK, Tan and Lim, who have sacrificed their weekend for us. As this concludes the webinar, I hope you all learned a lot of new things and have gotten some useful information from this webinar that can assist you guys in Muet, which is around the corner. Do your best and don't forget to always stay healthy within these times. I hope this has been an enlightening session for all the audience today. Thank you. And also, for those who haven't gotten the chance to watch this live, this channel, English Squad KMK, will post this on YouTube and you can rewatch it at any time. Also, please subscribe and check out all the videos in this channel. Hopefully, all the videos will help you in your Muet preparation. All right, and then I wish you all the best of luck. And for now, goodbye.